Hey y'all, what's up? It's your girl Krista B from Those Wrestling Girls, and you know I have to tell you about my dope ass rock shirt that I finally got in the mail thanks to Ripple Junction. Ripple Junction is the best place to get all your authentic tees, whether it's WWE, whether it's The Office, whether it's any show that you love and mark over. You go over there, you order your shirt, you put it on, and boom. Also, you have to use the code Those Wrestling Girls to get 15% off your purchase. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to ripplejunction.com, order your shirt, type in the code Those Wrestling Girls, and you're also going to tell them that we sent you. And on that note, it's your girl Krista B, and I am out. Hey everybody, what's up? We're back. It's Those Wrestling Girls. It's your girl Krista B
and Queen P.R.
And today we are starting a new series. Since the Attitude Era series went off so well, we thought why not continue it? So now we are starting our Ruthless Aggression series. We kind of started it with Mickie James because she was Attitude Era, then Ruthless Aggression. But this is like the official start with the one and only Torrie Wilson.
Yeah.
Now, Ruthless Aggression was like kind of where we stopped at, like growing up watching wrestling.
Yeah, definitely.
So what do you remember of Torrie Wilson? Like for me, and she was another beautiful blonde.
Mm-hmm.
She came in, she was more of a valet, she was more of a manager. She got called up after, Shane bought WCW and all brought up onto that whole Ruthless Aggression Era, the Alliance and things of that nature. So what was your first take, if you remember, like seeing Torrie Wilson on TV?
The crazy thing is I didn't watch WCW growing up. So I learned of WCW when the invasion angle happened. So when they did the double telecast and Shane had, bought WCW, that was my first time even I knew that there was another wrestling show, but that's when I learned okay, so there are two different companies. And then I had always seen Torrie Wilson, we did flip channels to Nitro, we did always notice. How could you not notice this beautiful blonde with the beautiful long legs? So that's my first impression was okay, another, tall, beautiful blonde. But because I was so WWF or E at the time, I was like, they not touching Trish, they not touching Lita.
Right, exactly.
But
yeah, it was true. And it's like Torrie came up, and we also had Stacy Keibler. So you really didn't see one without the other.
Yeah, they kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah, they definitely do go hand in hand. But yeah, Torrie Wilson, she started to impress me towards the end of her career when she started to actually fight more. And people forget that she wrestles. She's not just here for the bra and panty matches. She's not just here for Santa Claus matches and things of that nature. She was wrestling.
Yeah.
She was wrestling. She's known for her most infamous feud with Dawn Marie.
Yeah.
And looking back at it as an adult is so cringy.
It really, really is.
So cringy.
It is. And just going back to what you said about she could actually wrestle, she was a part of these group of women at the time, and going even into the Divas era, who wanted to be more physical, who wanted to wrestle more, because you did have Trish, who grew into a great wrestler, but you had management backstage and them telling them not to be physical, not to look tough, to look pretty all the time, to catfight, and so it's hard. So they get judged for only being an aesthetic, but they were hired to be an aesthetic, and it doesn't take away from what they wanted to possibly bring to the ring. When we were looking up Torrie, she was in cheerleading, she was in track, she was a dancer, and a fitness model before she came into wrestling by chance. So I think it was nice to see her actually get to wrestle.
It was nice to actually see her get to wrestle. But I really just have to sit and talk about this damn feud.
Please. Let's get to it. It's probably her most memorable, like, I guess, storyline in WWE.
True. Because it was like, okay, you had Dawn Marie who came up from, I believe, ECW when Stephanie bought ECW. It was a lot
Mhm.
of
A lot going on at that time.
my bad, y'all. I'm tired. We are some hardworking women over here.
The way we've been having to try to schedule
Like
is
literally,
I ain't got,
literally.
like
But yeah, so I think Dawn Marie came up from ECW. And I believe she was a valet in WCW for a little while or whatever. But and you know what's crazy? The storyline was actually a good storyline for
Mm,
that time. You couldn't do nothing like that now. Like they did it. Remember that storyline was repeated because the first one was with Trish, Stephanie, Linda, and Vince.
mhm.
And you know, Stephanie being mad that Trish is messing with her father, and you know, Linda being the whole, I want to say, in a vegetative state, quote unquote. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
I don't know what to call it because then she got up at one point and Trish and Linda turned on Vince. So I don't know what to call it, but
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but then we get to see it again. But now
Mm,
it's just two factors instead of three or four. It's just
yeah.
Dawn and Tori. And of course, Dawn Marie decides she wants to get Tori back for something that happened. I can't remember.
Well, it's
So,
actually great. So I remember what happened, and
okay, what happened? Because please, I
so
don't remember.
it's so crazy. So Dawn Marie was initially interested in Torrie Wilson, and she said, like, I want to date. We're like basically like me and you could either spend a night in a hotel together. You know, of course, they didn't outright say it, but insinuated that, or I'm gonna date your father. And so Tori said no, and then she ends up dating Torrie Wilson's father, who ended up becoming like his own celebrity in his own
Yeah.
right. Like he became like an instant star, which is crazy. Rest in peace. Unfortunately, he passed last year. So yeah, keep going. I just wanted to
Right.
add.
Yeah, Tori, she said that when like the day before she got inducted. Remember she
Yeah,
was like,
I think he passed not too long before that. Yeah.
yeah, like literally the day before. And I was like, wait a minute, what? And you here? Like,
Yeah.
couldn't
But
have been.
yeah, and then she even mentioned it, and we were lucky enough to be at the Hall of Fame in 2019. Like she mentioned how the WWE universe loved and embraced her father. So I think it was kind of like good for her to be able to, be with the WWE universe during like that trouble like time in her life.
Right. So, long story short, these two are feuding over Al. You know, Tori feels like Dawn Marie is just taking advantage of him, don't want them to get married. They get married. Um, and then on their honeymoon, Al ends up passing away because his heart couldn't take
All the sex.
all of the sex.
Yeah.
What
Mhm. Yep, that
happened?
happened.
Then at the funeral, I believe Dawn said she didn't want Tori there. And he was like, "Fuck you, this is my father. Like, I don't care about y'all dating, relationship, marriage. This is my daddy." And then they have a fight at the funeral.
They do. And another interesting thing about that is they had a stepmother versus stepdaughter match.
Yes, that's what that.
I'm like going back and I'm like watching and I'm really like, this happened. This
It
happened.
happened. It
And
happened.
yeah, and we thought that the Attitude Era, and check out our Attitude Era series, we thought those storylines were crazy and over sexualized. But then you go into like some of the stuff they were doing in the Ruthless Aggression Era, and it's like, oh, okay, it didn't stop. Definitely not until the PG era did it really start because okay, she's been in a lot of specialty matches, which sucks because it's not a lot of wrestling involved in these matches. She's been on a paddle on a pole match. She's been
Mhm.
in a sexy Santa match. She's been in various versions of the bra and panty match where it's like they just have a different item of clothes on that they need to strip off of each other. She actually debuted on SmackDown, well, her wrestling debut, I should say, in a bra and panty match against Trisha.
Mhm. And it just makes you be like, oh gosh.
Right. Like, so of course we're not gonna look back on Torrie Wilson like, she was, a great wrestler, but she was a good look and she did bring a lot. And I remember when and I would love to know your thoughts because we haven't talked about it on the show. A lot of people were kind of questioning why she was inducted into the Hall of Fame. Because of that whole she's not a real wrestler and some of the points that you made earlier. How did you feel about that announcement? Because there's only one woman per year, and she was that woman. And there's a lot of women we can name that should be in the Hall of Fame by now. How did you feel about it?
I felt like her induction, I feel like it could have waited.
Mm.
I feel like, we still have Molly Holly, who hasn't been inducted yet, time has like, she needs to be inducted. We still have people, Ivory was inducted. We have other people, like we have Bull Nakano. I don't think she was inducted as of yet. Um, like there's so many other people who could have been inducted over Stacy Keibler. Hell, Jazz could have been inducted.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I feel like Torrie Wilson's induction could have waited because after she left, she kind of like she was like really the only wrestler who left and really didn't come back until that year of Rumble, that 2019 year of Rumble, and then she came back for the induction, her induction or whatever. But she was really that wrestler. Like once I was retired, I was gone and never came back. Like not
Yeah.
even pop up surprises or anything.
No, she didn't.
I really feel like it could have waited though.
I agree. But I do feel like she has a place.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
yeah, I do. Like, I think I can understand that the WWE Hall of Fame is not necessarily a wrestler's Hall of Fame. Like, so Torrie Wilson was a great WWE superstar. She was popular. She had infamous storylines. So I would love to give, because we do have some listeners that may not be familiar with Torrie Wilson. I want to give a little quick bio about her. So she was from Boise, Idaho. She was born in July 1975, and we mentioned before she grew up shy, which I'm always intrigued when I find out like performers of any way grew up shy. But she pursued modeling. And I learned when she was on the Lillian Garcia podcast that she struggled with an eating disorder due to her modeling career. But in turn, that turned her into fitness. So that's when she became a fitness model, a fitness competitor, and she won Miss Galaxy competitions in 1998. And then after that, she moved to LA to pursue acting. And she was dating someone. So this is interesting of how she got into wrestling, which she did not plan for at all. So she was dating someone. They went to a Nitro show. And she was a fan, growing up. She, like mostly everyone, they remember it when they were here. So she goes backstage, and everyone backstage is like looking at this beautiful leggy blonde. And long story short, I think Kevin Nash approached her and was like, "Do you want to walk Scott Steiner to the ring tonight?" And she was like, "Okay." And she got signed to WCW, and as they say, the rest is history.
That is real interesting.
Right? I'm like, what were her like those chance things that you never imagine?
Right. So she was, and that's another thing too. Like when it comes down to the topic of being inducted to the Hall of Fame, because she wasn't a wrestler like you said, and she didn't have the intentions of becoming a wrestler. Like she literally got in because of her looks, and you can see later on that she started to train and stuff to be a wrestler, to be in the ring, to take those bumps, those bruises. But yeah, it was never. I was really like, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Not to throw shade towards her, but I was just like, huh?
Okay.
Mm, well, that table could have went.
Yeah,
I don't think that's
yeah,
gonna happen ever, but she could have went.
that's true. Speaking of Sable, so she also soon after she debuted got into a affair romance angle with Vince McMahon, like most women in storyline did at that point in time. And it's very strange that because we all know Vince signs off on all the storylines, he's part of creative of everything. Like, it's very interesting that he booked himself having all of these like affairs.
I guess he wanted to do something. He wanted to live his fantasies in real time without having to feel like a guilt thing behind it. Maybe. Or maybe
Mhm.
people just wanted to live vicariously through him. Oh, if I was the boss, I would have this woman and that woman and that woman. And I
Mhm.
still have my
Mhm.
wife and kids at home who are happy but have no idea that I'm doing this.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Vince is the type.
Yeah. Yeah. How did you feel about the invasion angle? Like, I know this was during the time we were kind of like falling out of it, but how did you feel about the invasion angle? There's a lot of mixed reactions out there in the
I
wrestling.
loved it. Um,
Mm,
and here's why, because when they were getting jumped and all the ECW guys ran out, and Bubba Dudley, Devon, all of them ran out, Raven, and it was just like they all turned around. And that's when, Paul Heyman got up and was just like, this is an invasion and da 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 da, whatever. And I'm just like, up. It just heightened my Survivor Series sense. Like Survivor,
mm,
we got
mm.
WWE, ECW, WCW. Who's going to reign supreme? Who's going to be number one?
Yeah.
So it was good. And plus, we also got to see new talent because for those of us who didn't watch ECW or WCW, we got to see them all under one roof on WWE. So it was just like, oh, now y'all about to up it. Like now it's about to get crazy in here because I feel like we were starting to get tired of seeing the same wrestlers, the same, like we really, before Invasion, we had Trish, Lita, Jazz, Victoria, Molly, Gail. Gail.
Mhm.
Yeah, like was that 7 females? And then you add those from ECW and WCW and the roster continues to go up. I was
Yeah.
here for it.
How could you it's like how could you not be here for it? And then it was something different. Like looking back, I'm like, it was something different. Could the story like they did the best they could with what they could have.
Right.
So, I was never going to root against any like I wasn't never gonna root against WWE anyway. So like I said earlier, like I always looked at, the Torrie Wilsons and the Dawn Maries even and the Stacy Keeblers on the WCW side. Like y'all are not touching our girls over here. Like you're just not. So there's another popular so we always like to include our followers and listeners and everything in the show. So I put out a tweet, what are some memorable Torrie Wilson moments that we should talk about? Of course, number one was the Dawn Marie storyline,
Mhm.
and not start with, but they also talked about her romance angle with Tajiri. Do you remember that?
No.
Yeah, so it was very Sable Mark Marrow-esque. So somehow they a relationship angle started with them. So Tori and Stacy were a tag team for most of the start of their WWE Invasion Angle careers. But Tajiri and Tori Wilson got into a relationship and she basically chose Tajiri over Stacy, turned on Stacy, and then joined WWF's team with Tajiri. But what makes it so, and then they started feuding. So, what makes it interesting though is that Tajiri, how it turned into is that Tajiri got sick of the attention that Tori Wilson would get for her looks. So he would get jealous. He would blame her for if he lost a match, it was her fault because she was distracting. So
I
then he
feel like I remember it now. It's starting to come back to me. Continue.
so then he started making her dress like a geisha.
Oh yes, yes, yes. Okay, I do remember.
And honestly, like Tori Wilson is absolutely beautiful, and like her fans would probably willing to see her in pretty much anything. But where I drew the line was there were times where, of course, she had to strip out of me, like her geisha outfit. So it was like she was always being sexualized in some way. So then there's that infamous scene of her getting on the announce table and doing like a table dance. So that was her way of getting back at Tajiri for trying to, keep her away from the audience attention.
And it's just so crazy to me how at that time we were okay with the cultural appropriation. A white woman wearing a geisha, that's like something sacred in Asian culture.
Yeah.
It's just like we promoted, or WWE promoted a lot of things for us that we were okay with. Like I was literally just watching the infamous wedding between Triple H and Stephanie, and Triple H were in the car, and I'm just like, yo, we really promoting like date rape, drugs, and past, like we really promoting. Okay.
Yep. That really happened, and that was like a main like storyline.
Facts. I'm sorry for the constant yawning. Oh man.
It really was. So, um, oh, and then there was the kimono match. That's what it was. The kimono match that she had with Ikoro, who was a Japanese wrestler that was on the roster at the time. We'll probably cover her in like the Forgotten Women era. But yeah, so she had a kimono match. But then more women started coming into the division, like Mickey James, Melina. So she feuded with Melina for a little while. Candice Michelle. They had plenty of bra and panty matches to go around.
Do you ever get tired of bra and panty matches is what I'm trying to figure out.
Right, exactly. Do you remember Vince's Devils? It was a faction. It
It was a what? A faction.
was a faction with Candice Michelle, Torrie Wilson, and Stacy Keibler. And they basically were like, they did Vince's deeds. Yeah, Candice, no, I'm sorry. It was Candice Michelle, Torrie Wilson, and Victoria. And yeah, and Trish would call them the Skinketeers.
I don't think I got that far yet. Watching it, I don't think I got that far yet, but wow.
Yep. So that was another thing that people brought up when I had put it out there asking, because I know there's a lot of Torrie Wilson fans out there, which I love. There's a lot of fans, like a very niche group of people on our wrestling Twitter, at least, that is huge fans of like the women of the Ruthless Aggression and Divas era. So like when we were like, we're doing a spotlight on Torrie Wilson, like I loved like the enthusiasm. It
Right.
was dope.
We love y'all for real. Like I
You
swear,
guys,
we can get lost on something and y'all be right there to help us pick it up. Like we love and appreciate y'all for real.
yeah, we really do. We really, really do. So then another big thing that became a part of Torrie Wilson's career was her Playboy magazine covers. And honestly, looking at Torrie Wilson, she's definitely Playboy cover material. Yeah. So there was a fun storyline where she was on a cover 2003 in a Playboy, but Nydia, who I almost completely forgot about, she started a feud with Torrie Wilson, being jealous, saying that she shouldn't have been the one.
Her. Yeah,
Yes.
that I remember. And that's when Jamie Noble was.
Mm-hmm.
Good
Yeah.
old Jamie Noble.
Yeah, right. And it's like all these blasts from the past. Like that's what's so fun about doing these series, because you go back and you think you have a gist of like what was happening, and then you're like, oh, I forgot about, oh yeah.
Right. Oh, like because I'm rewatching Ruthless Aggression now, I see Jamie Noble and Nydia and stuff. I'm like, hold up. Ain't that Seth Bodyguard? Like, I'm confused. No, ain't that the security guard? Like, he was a wrestler. But you have to remember, a lot of these people who are in WWE, who are on the team, on TV or whatever, they used to be wrestlers or used to do something to that effect. So I'm just like, oh, okay. Got it. Understood now. But yes, I do remember the Nydia and Torrie feud when Nydia was trying to, like, be, in essence, be like Torrie Wilson.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that just, looking back on it now, that just displays a sense of not being wanted, not feeling pretty, not, not accepting yourself for who you are, because this is what things that we watch put out for us. This is what I always say, representation matters. Like Nydia wasn't ugly. She was petite, like probably like 5'3", 5'4". Long brown hair, a great wrestler. She was on Tough Enough. I believe she won Tough Enough. I think that's the one she won with Maven. I believe she won. But at the same time, it was like you could do all this, but you're still not gonna be good enough or pretty enough because you're not tall and blonde. And that's a stigma that we have to like cancel. Like we have to normalize self-acceptance as well as acceptance amongst your fans, because if we don't, then we're gonna have these issues and we're gonna feel like, well, if she doesn't feel that way about herself, there's no way I'm gonna stand next to her and feel that way about myself either.
Yeah. That's so true. And I'm glad that, I mean, like you said, there's still a long way to go in WWE, but they have stopped with the over sexualizing and making it all about like magazine covers and who's pretty and who's fat and who's not. Speaking of Playboy, so another thing I wanted to go back to the whole Nydia thing was they would have a segment where Nydia and Jamie Noble would go to the Playboy mansion and they would complain to Hugh Hefner about them choosing Torrie Wilson. Also, what a great way to sell fucking Playboy magazines, because it's like watching SmackDown and like they're just talking about Playboy all day long.
Right. So, and not the first time somebody got jealous over their girlfriend being in Playboy, because when Chyna did her Playboy spread, Eddie Guerrero was like, what? Huh, what? No.
Yeah. It's fun to look back on that. And then, of course, so another notable feud that Torrie Wilson had was with Sable, who was just coming back to WWE after being gone for 4 years. And they began a storyline for a few weeks where they were kind of frenemies. Sable, seemed like she was taking Torrie Wilson under her wing, but was like really playing mind games with her. Yeah. How did you feel about kind of like Sable, who was, purely an aesthetic back in the Attitude Era, coming back into the Ruthless Aggression Era and is now feuding with kind of like the modern her? How you feel about that?
Let me call you back. Sorry. I don't know. I feel like Sable coming back. I'm always here for that, for the Tiger sound once her music hits. Like I'm always here for that. But for Sable to come back and be so shady, because she was never a heel in Attitude Era, and nobody ever not liked her. So for her to come back and be so shady and so like she played it well, and I hope that's not how she is in person. I hope not. But I love me some Sable. But it was a good dynamic between the two. Pure babyface, pure heel.
Yeah, that was definitely what Torrie Wilson was. Definitely a babyface, especially at this time. So guess what? That led to a bikini match. No, I'm sorry, a bikini contest at the Judgment Day pay-per-view that year, which, I mean, Sable's the queen at this point, I guess, of bikini contest, because I mean, she goes down in history. But Wilson, Torrie Wilson,
wearing, or lack thereof, those bikini.
Yeah. But Torrie Wilson won, and it ended with Torrie kissing Sable on the lips to show that, she's a good sport. There's no hard feelings.
What is happening? How do we get to this point?
Yes.
Like, how do we get to you lose a match or you win the match or whatever, and then the winner kisses the loser on the lips? Like, if that was, I don't even know. Like, how did we get here? Like, how did we get here?
Right. So there was more jealousy involved over Torrie's Playboy covers. So then her and Sable become a tag team, and then they start beefing with Jackie Gata, who another person that I literally completely forgot about, and Stacy Keibler. So that led to a, tag team feud or whatever. And guess what, Krista? They had a Playboy evening gown match at WrestleMania 20. how this is done in a tag team form, like, I don't know, but that happened.
I'm so glad we're past that.
I know.
I would have been so
Oh my god.
repulsed. Like it.
Yeah.
It would be
It's
all right. I'm canceling WWE subscription.
what I love though is like you were at a WrestleMania where women main evented for the very first time and put on like with like Ronda Rousey. And then like women were having, Playboy evening out matches and now they were like main eventing. So that's kind of cool, I guess.
I'm just so glad we're not there.
Right.
I'm just so glad we're not there anymore.
It's done.
Let me what happened at a WrestleMania that I paid for. I mean, I didn't pay for the WrestleMania ticket that I got, but let me have been and I paid for and I would have saw that shit. Oh man, I'll probably still be sitting in jail.
Yeah. So we're not going in order, guys. We're just kind of just chatting about Torrie Wilson's career. Another romance angle that I completely forgot about was with Carlito. And this is when they tried to resurrect ECW and Kelly, who we will also cover as some. Yeah, so she enters the mix too. But it wasn't long, but it was definitely an angle. And it led to a feud with Ashley Mazzaro.
R.I.P.
RIP to her. She tangled it up with Melina, who was the women's champion at the time. So we like to just kind of list off women that she feuded with. Stacy Keibler, of course, their careers are parallel. We'll cover her next. Dawn Marie, Molly Holly, Nydia, Sable, Shaniqua.
You remember Shaniqua?
Hmm?
You remember Shaniqua?
Did not remember her until like
Oh,
your mom was like reminding me of because we have a women of color spotlight real talk episode and they were like, you got to talk about Shaniqua, and I was like, who the hell is
the
Shaniqua?
fact that her name was Shaniqua and she was black.
hmm Yeah, and she was like
Okay.
strong, like she looked like a, I hate to say a Black China, but like she was like
She was strong, diesel, slim, but the
yeah,
fact that her name was Shaniqua.
I know, right?
Everybody was okay with this. Like, not saying that we don't know Shaniquas. I know a couple of Shaniquas. I'm pretty sure you know a couple of Shaniquas. But the fact that that's like, I don't want to have to say that's like calling the stereotypes are just real. I'm gonna say it that way. I'm gonna be so filtered right now. The
Yeah,
stereotypes were real. For
yeah.
you to be in a company ran by a white man, a rich white man, and you're a black woman and the best and if it's not if it is her name then cool, but if it wasn't her name, the best name you come up with is Shaniqua.
So bad.
But even if it was her real name, you could have gave her something else.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. And of course, she didn't get a lot of screen time like a lot of people thought that she should have. I can't wait to dive into like her career, her time in WWE too, because I definitely want to talk about the Nydias and the Shaniquas and the Jackie Gatas, the women that, are not always talked about as much.
right.
And because there's always something there. One other notable feud that Torrie Wilson had was with Victoria. So they were like frenemies for a long time. And then I learned that that was Torrie Wilson's last match was defeating Victoria on an episode of SmackDown.
Well, good for her.
Yeah.
Damn, I really gotta catch up because I feel like the feud with Dawn Marie just kind of like I'm gonna just stop watching for a little bit because this
It's
is really bugging my fucking mind out.
yeah, it's a lot. And now I want to also like in our when we talk more about the women of Ruthless Aggression, I want to talk about Hikaru because I don't remember her. Melina, of course, Ashley Mazzaro, and then Trish and Lita, of course, were still around, so they mixed it up with Torrie Wilson as well. But she ended up leaving WWE in 2008. And she would pop up every like you said, she didn't really like come back a lot. Like she popped up in that like 25 Diva Royale that Santino Morello one somehow. Um, but then it wasn't until like 2018, that year, with like you had said earlier with the Rumble and stuff, that she really, really came back.
Right. And it was, I mean, it's always good for them to do pop-ups instead of like coming back so often. Like, it doesn't give you a chance to miss them as much or appreciate what they did at the time that they were in the ring, you know? So it was good to see Torrie pop up every now and again.
Yeah, I agree. How did you react when she was a surprise entrant in the Royal Rumble?
This was 2018, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was just still in awe. Like, we had our very first ever Women's Royal Rumble. So I couldn't sit here and just decipher my feelings from seeing one person to another. Like, I knew it was going to be surprises. There's no way. And there's no way you can have a Women's Royal Rumble without the likes of Torrie or Lita or Trish or Jack. Like, you couldn't really have it without them. So I was like, I was just really awestruck. But you know, I was really there for the Bellas. For Naomi.
Yeah.
For Becky. So yeah, but it was good seeing them. Definitely seeing Torrie there.
That's good. So overall, what would you say is Torrie Wilson's legacy in WWE as a wrestler?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I think so. We had also put a tweet out there a while ago, like what woman reminds you of WCW, and and a lot of people put Torrie Wilson.
Right. But my
And
thing is that I don't know for a wrestler standpoint what to say, like, because like she didn't practice this. Like, this literally just fell on her. So it's
Mhm.
really hard to sit here and say what do I feel like her legacy as a wrestler would be, because she don't have those stories like Charlotte, Becky, Bailey, Sasha, Trish, like she don't have those stories. So I really don't know. I couldn't tell you at all.
Mhm. Yeah. I am glad that, because she did contribute something, to that time, especially, you can't not think of Torrie Wilson and Stacey Keibler when you think of like the late 90s, mid 2000s wrestling. Like they were a huge part of it. And I'm glad that she did get her flowers, and her, along with like Stacey Keibler, Kelly Kelly, were able to leverage their wrestling career into like really popular social media influencers. Torrie Wilson has a workout like type thing, which is really successful. And, we were able to see her at Royal Rumble Evolution and stuff like that. So
Right.
she's doing well for herself. And I'm excited that, we can be able to put a spotlight on Torrie Wilson, as long as with the other dope women that were in the Ruthless Aggression era.
Right. I agree.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
does this wrap up our Torrie Wilson episode today?
It does. And we can't wait to continue our Ruthless Aggression series, because it's dope to go back and be like, okay, wow, okay, this is what was happening. Okay. And
This
put
is
our
definitely- Got it.
Yes, yes, yes. And guys, as you can see, I'm rocking well, if you're listening, you can't see, but I'm rocking our TWG merch, our Attitude Era capsule collection. So make sure you guys check that out.
Yeah,
There's
go support.
Yeah, go support. We got hoodies up there for hoodie season. We got face masks. We took care of you guys.
We got you guys. Thank you for those who already supported, who already bought, who already was like, okay, when y'all coming out with more, it's coming. Don't worry about it. We'll get it to y'all. But yeah, just thank you for supporting us.
Yeah, totally, totally. And as you guys know, we got new episodes. They drop every other Monday. Subscribe to our Patreon, our YouTube, all of that. Thank you for the support. And yeah.
And on that note, it's your girl, Krista B.
And Queen P.R.
And we are out. Bye.
Hi, everybody. everybody, it's me, Queen P.R, one half of those wrestling girls, and I'm here to remind you that we dropped our very first capsule collection to celebrate 2 years of those wrestling girls. It's our Attitude Era themed. It's only going to be available for a limited time only, so make sure you check it out. We have a hoodie, t-shirt, mugs, and a little bit more, so make sure you check that out, and thank you for supporting those wrestling girls.